Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today is going to be a little different. I'm going to try to do this video like podcast style. So I'm going to try to minimize the editing, keep it raw if I don't keep repeating my words a lot, because half of my editing in my videos is because I start sentences 3 times before I actually say the sentence that I'm trying to say. I really feel like God put this idea on my heart to do this video. Hopefully, whatever may be the reason that he's asking me to put this out, it may help you, it may help somebody else. He might be trying to speak to you through me. So I'm just being obedient. Even if this video gets like 30 views, he might have been trying to reach one of those 30 people that will watch this video. This video, I'm just going to share with you guys my art journey, just how I really started doing art, and then later down the line as I grew in my relationship with Christ, how God slowly revealed to me that art was my purpose. I'm going to be sitting here the whole time. I may pop in a picture of a painting or something every now and then, not too much moving or anything. Like I said, I'm going to try to do this podcast style, so feel free to not look at me. Go clean, go cook, go do something while you just listen to me talk. I'm going to start it off here. I'm going to stop rambling. So I hope you enjoy. I hope this speaks to you in any type of way, whatever led you to click on this video and watch it, or even if you're just a casual one of my viewers. If you are, thank you. I love you. Growing up, I would go on vacations with my dad, right? It would just be me and my dad. And if he had a girlfriend, the girlfriend would come too. Okay? So from this age range, I was probably maybe, I guess, 6 to 10 years old. I was still a kid. And my dad works a lot. And now that I'm older, I understand that that's his definition of vacation. But as a child, that is the most boringest thing. Like, we would go to, like, we would stay at these nice hotels. They would have huge pools, 2, 3 lazy rivers. Like, we used to stay at these nice places. And all he wanted to do was just lay in a room and sleep the entire time. So, as a kid, that drove me crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're on this new environment. I want to go play in the pool. I want to go to the carnival. I want to go see stuff. And he just wanted to sleep. And he just be like, oh, I'm not on no program. You ain't gonna be rushing me. When we get up, we're gonna do this and this and that. Okay? When I get up, I want to sleep. Let me rest. I drove da 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 da. Okay? So, and I'm a child. I'm literally under 10. I can't just go, you know, go by myself. That's not safe for as a young child like that. So I would just have to sit. I'd have to sit in the room and take it and let him sleep. I started to bring stuff and bring things that would occupy me, as I pretty much knew majority of the time we would be in the room because he would want to sleep, because that's his definition of vacation, which is just resting. I would bring my dolls. I would bring crossword puzzles. I had an iPad. I would just download a bunch of iPad games and like go ham on the hotel Wi-Fi. So I was starting to find ways to occupy myself, but this very last time I decided to bring a composition notebook and some pencils. I still honestly, I really wonder. I wish I could remember what made me bring a notebook and pencils, because I honestly do not remember, and it low-key drives me nuts. I really wish I remember what led me to do that. I was 9 years old. I was going into 6th grade. Um, it was 2018, and we were on vacation in Virginia Beach, and we were staying in one of the nice oceanfront hotels, and it had a balcony. So he was asleep. I had my notebook, I had my pencils, and I would go on the balcony and draw to pass my time. And I don't know what stemmed that. Like, I just really remember I would go on Pinterest on my little iPad, and I would just find like the most simplest, like I was drawing girls. I was just drawing like poses, like, like those faces. It's just kind of like those outlines of girls that literally just look like a strict like drawing or like a tattoo stencil or something. It's not detailed or anything. It just looks like an outline. I was just doing small things like that, or just drawing other people's drawings, like trying to recreate it. And it was so peaceful. That point on was when I really fell in love with drawing. And when I look back, like, My drawings weren't bad. I mean, they were very beginnerish, but you can definitely even tell back then, like if I kept going, I had potential. They had potential. So, and I guess I was really proud because then I thought they looked really good. So I was proud of myself. And because I was proud of my drawings and what I was doing, it inspired me, it motivated me to keep going. It's like the earliest memory I have of me drawing and like starting to draw and actually like really liking to draw. Fast forward a little bit, then I just remember like from that point on, I drew a little bit more in my composition notebook after that vacation. But from that point, I had expressed to my mom, like, hey, I think I like drawing. Love my mom. When mom watches this, mom, I love you. Thank you so much for always supporting me and supporting any hobby, passion, anything that I've ever wanted to try and do. When I kind of told her that, I was kind of sparking my interest in drawing, like she bought me my sketchbook. Like that's how I got my very first sketchbook. I still have it. It's huge. It's like this big. It's pink. It's pretty. I was honestly doing my drawings in that up until I started painting, when I really think about it. From this point, it's still 2018. So at this point, I'm in 6th grade now and I'm still drawing. I actually have a real sketchbook now. I'm still enjoying to draw. I'm feeling proud of my drawings. I can see improvement in my drawings and how my works are coming out. So I'm like, wow, I'm doing something. I would bring my sketchbook to school. um I just literally remember being in like science class. That teacher got on my nerves. Oh my gosh, Miss Kelly. Oh, but anyway, I had a flashback. But towards the end of the year, everything is lenient. Like everything gets slack at the end of the year. So a lot of times I spent a lot of my time just drawing in my sketchbook towards the end of science class in there. And I also had a friend too that also really likes to draw and was pretty creative as well. So we would literally sit at the table in science class on the side and we would just talk. We'd have our little music playing on the Chromebook and we would just draw. And she had markers. She had some dope markers, man. And we was sharing the markers. It was so nice. Like it was, I loved it. Like that's the stuff I love to do even to like now. Anything creative, I'm there. Still really doing like pencils and like dabbling into shading a little bit in my drawings. I never quite really pitched the idea of like adding color yet. Me using her markers in class, like it made me like, okay, I think I want to try some color now. My brother had this pack of markers, just like they weren't even really markers, they were paint pens. They were his. He had them, but he honestly never really used them. And I used to literally ask him to like use them all the time and he would just give them to me. So, and eventually at one point, he just gave them to me and I kept them. At this point, this is 2019 to 2020. This is when I really started to get into like coloring and which led me morally into getting into painting. I had those paint pens and I started to get more into cartoons. I feel like this kind of stemmed also because I had joined TikTok. I remember I joined TikTok in 2019. So that whole artsy 2019, 2020 era, I was in that. And a lot of the things that I would draw and stuff kind of stemmed from that. That kind of kickstarted my style for a little bit. It wasn't even really my style because it wasn't my original ideas and stuff in a sense. It just kind of kicked off like my niche, my niche that I had for that current time. I was doing things like the Boondocks. I remember doing the Boondocks, Rick and Morty, Homer Simpson. I don't know if you guys remember like the era of TikTok where like everybody had like a bunch of like cartoon like wallpapers and profile pictures, like the one with Plankton holding like the heart thing on like the Valentine's Day episode, or Lisa Simpson with like the L thing. Like those type of pictures and stuff was trending. I was doing a lot of stuff like that, like Powerpuff Girls, like stuff I would see like that. Was kind of starting to stem that I like to draw because when I was like doing all this stuff, like I would be posting my drawings. Like I would post them on my Instagram story, and later down the line I'll get into that, but I started posting my painting TikTok videos and all that stuff. I was starting to put my drawings and my art out there a little bit just for fun. Like I was just, I was proud. So I'm just like, let me just post this. So um, no really intent of like starting like, art content creation or anything like that. Some point within the transition period of COVID starting to spread and everything shutting down for COVID and having to be quarantined, at some point in that window, I got curious to start painting. Because I remember telling my mom, like, I think I want to try painting. And I was honestly like really, really like skeptical or just kind of nervous to start painting because I honestly thought it was going to be like hard. And I'm not gonna lie, painting was kind of hard at first for me. Like it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. This was also like before I did like canvases and stuff. So from at this point, I was taking pages out of my sketchbook. I spent most of my time quarantine with my at my grandparents' house, and they just have like this really thick glossy cardstocky paper. I would draw on that and I would paint on that, and that was how I did my SpongeBob painting. I think that was the very first painting that I would say I've done like with all paint. It became easy to do it for cartoons and stuff, but when I wanted to like kind of like branch out and try like new things that weren't really cartoonish, I kind of struggled a little bit. But regardless, I kept going because I still enjoy painting. And not only that, it just wasn't that I saw improvement and like I saw potential in my work, and like I actually thought at that time that my work was really good. I genuinely enjoyed to paint. And that's also what made me, that's the main reason why I really kept going for real. Like, I enjoyed it. It made me happy. It brought me peace. It helped time go by when I was bored. I felt proud of my work when I would finish it. So there literally wasn't a negative reason why I didn't stop, because I loved everything about creating art. And that's also like why when I was discouraged at first when I started painting, my work wasn't coming out how I wanted it to with paint. I was like, I'm still new to this, still learning it. And though it didn't discourage me to just stop and back away from painting. I just kept going. COVID advances a little more. So at this point, we are fully in quarantine, full blown pandemic. And I was in the house painting. I had gotten some canvases at this point. I was still doing cartoons strictly. Teen Titans, more Simpsons, anything Pinteresty cartoony, honestly. I started making painting videos. Why? I don't know. I still don't. It's crazy how like the most important pieces of why, like what stemmed me to start doing stuff, I literally don't even remember. Like, I don't know. Kind of going back a little bit because I didn't mention this. For this point, I was drawing and doing my drawings on envelopes. Like the paint pen drawings and marker drawings, I was doing those on envelopes. I said all that to say that was kind of when I really started like filming me doing my art on like TikTok. I have my TikTok account and I would just pick like, the little trendy sound, and I would just do little montages. I do like a little bit of drawing, a little bit of outlining, a little bit of coloring in, and then boom, show the finished thing. That's just kind of how I started it, and I started it when I was doing drawings on the envelopes. When I got my canvases, I picked it back up and it became more consistent because I was painting more. I was in the house. Like I mentioned, I stayed at my grandparents' house majority of quarantine solely because my mom was at work. I really did most of my painting and drawing here because it was just kind of a lot to like tug back and forth from my grandparents to here. And I was really just doing like drawings there, but I would do my paintings here. Like I remember if I just wanted to get the itch out and draw, I would have I would have that glossy paper that they have. I would draw whatever I wanted to like paint later. I would do my cartoon. I would do my anime girl. I would draw it all out there. Then I'd come home and paint it. That's kind of how I really got into painting. From this point, I've been doing cartoons and stuff for over a year. And I'm just like, well, I was fine. I was happy with my cartoons. But at this point, it was my mom that like really started to like push the idea in my head that I should like try something new. Like I should just try something different with painting. She was like, why don't you take a break from like the cartoons and like, try something more and try something different. And I didn't really know like what that was. At this point, I didn't want to be an artist. Art was still just a fun hobby of mine. I never really thought about to create my own art that deeply yet. At this point, I had tried to take my mom's advice. So I thought of abstract. I didn't have no sense of style for myself, nor really knew where or how to find my own inspiration because like I said, I didn't have that artist mindset yet. Art was just a fun hobby. I didn't think of it that deeply. I was just doing abstract, I'm just mixing colors on the palette, doing little squiggles, glitter, etc., etc. I thought it was pretty cool. Like it looked nice for like home decoration and stuff, but the thing that I struggled with abstract is, to me, it just got repetitive. And like, even, and I know like there are abstract artists out there that are intentional with their abstract art and they have inspiration and meaning behind the style of the abstract that they do their art. But me, I was just doing it just to try something different, taking my mom's advice. So I really didn't know what I was doing or just where I was going with it. I was just, just playing around trying stuff. The dead end where I kept coming to with abstract is like I got bored with it. And not only I got bored with it because I would just run out of ideas. I didn't really know like what to do anymore. I felt like all my paintings started to look the same. And I do want to say this to any artists out there. And I want to be here to tell you and say that it's okay that you don't have a style. Finding a style is not something you can force or make happen faster. You find your style over time. You find your style over experiences. It's not something you can sit down and just keep working with until you find your style, because I feel like when you find your style comes from your inspiration. Your style comes from how you see and picture how you want your art to be. Your style comes from what you want to portray with your art. I feel like it takes some character development to really like find like your niche, your style that you came up with. If you think you're gonna come in and like know what your style is gonna be, I'm not knocking it. Somebody might have, but I feel like that's not the case for a lot of artists. Like, and I feel like, that's the biggest thing that artists struggle with, finding their style. And not only that, your style will change. It's going to change. It's going to change. And I feel like there's literally nothing wrong with it changing. And I feel like it's good that it changes. Look at me for my styles and niches. I started with cartoon. That was my niche. Then I tried the abstract and it was interesting. But, I kept coming into the roadblock of, I'm getting bored. Like, what am I doing? That was still a style that I have created and came up with for myself, because it was still, though it was my abstract, it was still mine. It was still, a part of it was still came from my imagination and how I wanted it to look. Now we're about to get deep. Of course, when I definitely hit high school, I started to like really think about what I wanted to do with my life. I had always like never had interest in doing college. Even like my freshman year, I could just remember thinking like, I really don't want to go to college. Like I never had interest in going to college, but I still like kept that gateway open because I heard like a lot of people change their mind by the time they're a senior. This is the night, y'all, I visibly remember the night I realized I wanted to be an artist. Before I knew this was my purpose, I realized my purpose was to be an artist wasn't until 2 years after this moment. I have a cousin in Richmond. Went to her house, and my aunt, we was just talking and stuff because she was talking about this business idea that she was trying to pitch my cousin to do, and you can tell my cousin really wasn't feeling it. I was showing her my art and my drawings and stuff, and she's like, this is really nice. Like, you ever thought about doing like prints and like selling it? And I was like, no, I always just kind of really did it for fun. Like, I never really thought about it like that. And then she was like, you should see, you can get some prints done and you can sell that. There's people who would buy that. It could be a business you make money out of, especially if you enjoy doing it. That conversation I had with her was what opened my mind to the art world of being an artist and thinking like an artist. At night, on the way home, because I specifically remember the moment, and that whole ride home, I was thinking about the conversation I had had with my aunt about the art and stuff. I was listening to Eventually by Tame Impala. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I was listening to that song and it was like, the da-na-na, like, I was like, whoa, I would actually like to be an artist. I would be an artist. And that was when it clicked. I was like, I want to be an artist. I started doing more research. I'd be an artist. I was on TikTok, day in the life of an artist. Now, from the jump, I learned pretty quickly. It's not easy to be a full-time artist. Art isn't a typical job, and not only that, some aspects, art is a luxury, art is expensive. There's a different type of targeted audience when it comes to art. The average person is not going to pay $600 for a piece of art. So I just fell in love with, like, it made me want to be an artist. Like, yeah, I could have a hobby, because anybody can have a hobby and not want to like do that full time. I can love to crochet. Crochet is my hobbies, but I don't want to be a full crochet artist. I could love to read, but I don't want to be an author. But it was just something about art that I just love. Like, I love art so much. I just love to create. It was just something I could never get tired of. It was truly a passion for mine, even back then when it was just a simple hobby. I would be happy doing this for the rest of my life. Still not really having my style, and like I said, back to what I said a few minutes ago, y'all, don't feel pressured to find your style. Your style will come over time. I was just painting, dabbling, dilly-dallying, whatever, which is my art, just doing stuff, and I was doing a lot of sketching. And then January hit. Honestly, January was when things started to go downhill for me mentally. I had started to develop depression. Things weren't the best at home. I was getting in trouble. It just seemed like I was getting in trouble with my parents, like, all the time. I was stressed. I was having problems with eating. I was losing weight. I wasn't in a good space, period, okay? I didn't really have a safe outlet because, mind you, this was before I really, really found a relationship with God. I turned to art. This was honestly like the turning point in my art when I actually like started to develop my style without even knowing, honestly. I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk about my emotions to, nor did I feel safe emotionally confiding into somebody that vulnerable, And I also really wasn't the best at communicating. Like, if I did find someone safe to talk to about it, I wouldn't know how I would even put it into words how I felt because of how much was going through my head. So I turned to art because a blank canvas doesn't judge. When I look at a blank canvas, to me, it just says, show me what's wrong with you. What's the matter? I'm here. I don't judge. Tell me, how do you feel? I'm here to listen. And what you tell me, I will show the world by what you put on me. At that point was when I really started to like visualize how my emotions felt for me. If I could put my emotion in a picture, what would it look like? And that's what has started me making paintings and art off of emotion, and how my art started to be randomly so expressive. That was what really stemmed it. And honestly, from that point on, that was kind of how I created art. Honestly, a lot of my art like that starting off was dark. It did look depressing. It did just look heavy because that was the mental state I was in. It was my way of communicating. Sophomore year was low-key one of my hardest years mentally in a different aspect. I wasn't really creating art. I wasn't really painting. And the thing about art, like, even though like I'm talking like this happened like back to back to back to back, honestly, y'all, like, there were points where I wouldn't paint for like months. Like, I could go 6 months, 7 months without even painting. But the thing is, and when I look back now, is like, there's still, that's what like helped me piece like there's something so significant about art in my life, because from the start, I've tried hobbies, I've tried things, and there's nothing that I had ever really liked enough to just keep coming back to, even though I could like not do it for a year, and somehow I always found my way back to it. I could go months without making art and just not even on purpose, just not thinking, and somehow it just comes to me subconsciously. It just hits me one day. It's like, hey, you haven't painted in a while. How about we paint? Like, art just always found its way to creep right back into my life when I was neglecting it for a while. 2023, junior year, my year of reformation, my year of rebirth. It was the year I truly found the Lord, where I actually started to establish a relationship with him. It happens so simple, y'all. It don't get as simple as that. Cause growing up, I've always known God. I've grown up going to church. My family has always been Christian, like they believe in God. I had gotten baptized, and it's just, now that I'm just sitting here talking about it, it's so crazy. Like, these main key moments of just like stuff that really like piece together how I started the journey to discovering my purpose. I don't remember the key aspects as to what led me to do these certain things or how I got there. I got baptized when I was 8 years old, I believe. As long as I can remember, I had this Bible. And I don't even remember who gave me this Bible or when I got this Bible. I just remember, as long as I can remember, I had it. And I had asked my mom. Now, my mom said that my godmom had gifted me this Bible when I was baptized. That's why I brought up when I got baptized. But I really don't remember, because it was nothing like written in it or like anything. I really don't remember when I got this Bible. When I was given this Bible, I don't even remember who gave it to me. If my mama didn't tell me that she thinks it was my godmom, I still wouldn't know, honestly. It has just been sitting on my shelf. I remember one day I was walking out of my room. It was summer. It was July 2023. And I was walking out of my room, and my bookshelf was over there. So I just had looked to my left as I was walking out the door. I was going somewhere, and I had saw it. I had saw my Bible, and I had just like locked eyes with it. Just something just put me in a trance for a quick moment to sit there and stare at it. And in that moment, something told me, you should start reading it. Like, you should read it. From that point on, I had started reading my Bible. Like, I had picked it up and I was reading it. Like, it was great. I would put old Disney princess music on, and I would have my markers, and I was reading my Bible. Now, I was a baby at reading the Bible. I still kind of feel like it's like levels when you read your Bible. Like, the best way I have been able to like build up my reading endurance to like reading and comprehending the Bible better and stuff with the attention span was to start off with like books that kind of like keep your attention more, like Matthew, John, Luke, Galatians, Psalms, Proverbs, stuff like that. I feel like that is like the baseline where it really like talks about how to live for God, what you shouldn't do and what you should do. It's just wisdom, free game, free wisdom. I personally started in Psalms, reading my Bible, I was praying. And at that point, like I said, like I wasn't even really like painting for real. At one point in the midst of that, I started painting again. Has sparked that love for art that I had back up again. Like I said, art finds a way to always come back up in my life. I just wanted creativity. I wanted an art business. So I had actually started to put that into place and take it seriously. I can't even tell you piece by piece how it started. I cracked this open, and suddenly the desires just came. I honestly feel like too, like that's what happens when you really like, when you seek God first and you spend time with him, and when you want to do his will, and when you ask him to help you do the will that he has for your life, he will slowly make his desires for you your desires. Or when you have desires that aren't from God or that aren't from his will, that aren't a part of his will for you, You pray, you like, hey Lord, if this is, I'm kind of sparking this idea. I think I want this. I want to do this. I want to pursue this, but I still only want your will. I want to seek. I only want to do your will and what your plans are for me. So take that desire away from me if that's not from you or that's not a part of your will for my life. And I bet you 9 times out of 10, over time, without even realizing it, that desire is going to go away. And you're not even going to be like, well, I think that was just a phase. I don't even really think I want to do that anymore. And it happens the same way for things that God wants you to pursue. It's like a little nudge. It's like a little whisper. You're drawn to certain things, but you don't know why. And I feel like that was art has started to really build a connection with my art at this point. I had made my TikTok account. I was painting more, and I was set just I wanted an art business. The way I was on my Zoom, you would have thought rent was due, okay? And somewhere in the midst of that, I had really start to like feel in my bones, I think this is what God has for me to do. Like I said, I had always felt passion when I would draw, when I would paint, when I would do my cartoons. But now that I had God in the picture and I had started painting off of my emotions again, but with God in the picture, it felt so right. My calling. I'm made to create. There have been so many signs that I have honestly like had that like I don't even remember that. And I'm going to tell you guys like when I went on my cruise, like how many signs were on my cruise. The amount of times and ways God spoke to me on my cruise that I went on was crazy. I felt like I was on the right track doing it, I was fulfilled as well because creating is what I love to do. Sorry guys if the camera angle changed. The battery was getting low. I've been talking so long. That was honestly really the point where like I really found God and started to include God in my art. When I say like include God, I knew that the gift came from him. I knew that my creativity and my huge desire to just always want to make something and create something, I knew that at this point that came from God. That is my gift. Art is my gift from God. And as my journey went on and on, I had started to hear that so much. I had been putting my art out for a while now. I was posting it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much any platform that I had. So word was out. People knew I paint and people thought I painted pretty good. At this point, I'm a junior in high school and I was cheering. I remember it was basketball season and this was just so sweet, guys. Like I really remember I had ended up seeing one of my pre-K teacher assistants. She's older now. She's a lot older now. She was old, not no offense. I don't mean it like that, but she was old then, but like she's a lot older now. You know what I'm saying? But I still was able to recognize her, and during halftime, I went up there like to like see her in the bleachers and I had talked to her. I was low-key like always like kind of falling behind with like projects and stuff in pre-K, and she would always like pull me to the side and help me get caught up. Like she was really like, I don't know, it just makes me so emotional. Like it's just little like just the people who have so much patience with you, which is like little things like that. I remembered that. She always just looked out for me. I told her that. And I had told her like, hey, you were the teacher assistant when I was in pre-K. I'm a junior in high school now, so. And I wanted to tell you, like, I remember like I used to always fall behind in class. I used to get stressed and want to cry because I wasn't keeping up and the teacher wasn't really having a lot of patience with me. You would always help me, and I just wanted to say thank you for always doing that. She was like, you're welcome, da da da. And then we conversated a little bit. I think she had asked me like what did I want to do or like what I was doing, and I really told her I was really into art, and I had showed her some of my paintings too. And y'all, right then and there, she had stopped mid-conversation and started praying for me. She prayed over me. She prayed over my art. She prayed over my gift of having art. That ain't nothing but God right there. How can you say that is not God? Like, I haven't seen this lady in years, And when I just showed her and briefly talked about my pain to her, she just stopped right then in her tracks and started praying over that for me. That's just one of the many things that God has given me signs through people. Art is what I'm supposed to be doing. Time is going by, and I'm still aware that art is just not supposed to be a small part of my life. As the school year went on, I mean, I did fall short. We all stray away from God. That's not something odd. We have all strayed away from God and, just fell off, And being in school, definitely, that's not an excuse at all. But being in school did contribute to my fall off with God and being in my word more. I still wasn't in a very good headspace. I was still pushing out art through emotion. I was having a lot of things. And also this was kind of a point also where like God was giving me visions. He started to give me visions and vivid dreams. And this was like the point where like I had my very first dream about, it wasn't a dream, it was a vision. I just really started to like feel a shift on how I honestly looked at the people around me. I had this vision. I'm not going to go into detail. That's another story for another day. But the moral of the story is that vision that he gave me revealed to me that 85% of the people that I hung around and spent my time with were snakes. And they were not my friends. That was the first time I really had something like that. It shook me. At this point, this was when I had really started to feel like different. Even like in school and stuff, like I kind of like had my people I would hang around and stuff, honestly. But even like at this point, it just seemed like the people I hung out with and talked to the most, like, they were meeting, they were having like new connections with people. They were like meeting new friends, hanging out. Like they were just building new bonds with people, and I'm just kind of in my head, like, I wasn't jealous, but I was just kind of like, why is everybody else being able to click with people but me? Like I just could never click with anybody for real. And even like as I've grown in my relationship with God, I honestly feel like that I have outgrown some people and I don't click the same anymore with them either. But I really just felt like then I low-key felt like something was wrong with me. I was like, why can't I have, and it just seemed like they just had the coolest friendship ever. And I'm just like, why can't I have that friendship? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, it's just like it's just nobody was clicking to me like that. And for the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me and it was something I was doing. And I just felt so different and it kind of like triggered a part of me that always kind of felt like the last choice in friendships and stuff. All that backs all the way back to elementary school, which are some things that I have done some shadow work and realized where that stemmed from. But looking back on it now, that was just God protecting me from people he knew weren't jack. Like they were not good friends. They were not good, they weren't good. They had nothing good to offer me in a friendship. I had also started to feel less bad when I had realized, like, they was making these connections and stuff, and later down the line they weren't friends anymore. They were gossiping about each other. They weren't on good terms. They just weren't on good terms anymore. And when I look back, I realized why I was never able to click with them. It was protection. It was just God protecting me. It was God saving me stress. And when I look back now, I'm not even mad. Thank you, Jesus. The vision he gave me about the people I was hanging around, it was a majority, and not everybody in that majority I was really close with. But I had seeked him further about that, and he had pinpointed three main people that it was really that the source was really coming from, that I really needed to, like, do something about. And I didn't even have to do anything. It was God. And I kid to y'all not, that plays a part. When you just be still and let God handle it, he will do it. You don't have to do it. Because these three people, I'm just not a confrontational person, so I honestly would have never like saw myself saying something and like cutting them off. And I didn't have to, because God worked that out for that to happen. And I kid y'all not, I asked God for another sign to like pinpoint, like, okay, you gave me a vision with the majority, but what is who do I really need to be worried about in this big circle? And he gave me three people because I prayed for another dream. I told him to show me in a dream before I went to sleep that night, and he did. And it was three of them. And I kid y'all not, within the next 4 months, within the next 4 months, they were all out of my life. And when I say they weren't completely out of my life, but we weren't on talking terms at all anymore. We weren't talking at all. There was nothing that I did to provoke that. So I didn't have to cut them off because God worked it out for them to kind of do it themselves. I'm not gonna lie. So I didn't have to do anything. And that's what, like I said, be still and let God work for you. I say all that to say that was another thing I was kind of struggling with too. Just like kind of feeling out of place and feeling different, in that aspect when it came to friendships and like bonds and relationships and stuff. Cause I felt like at this point I really couldn't click with nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I had made art about that. I had started a painting about that situation, but I never finished it. And I'm not, now that I think, no, I'm not going to finish that painting. Fast forward now, we are in 2024, right? I really felt like 2024 was a big pruning season in my life because there was a lot of people that left that God revealed to me flat out that wasn't supposed to be in my life anymore. I felt lonely. I felt extremely lonely in this year. Still, I wasn't back as close with God as I wanted to be, but he was still there. He was still there, and I love him and appreciate him so much for still being there. I still had kind of fell off with painting because I was going into my senior year at this point. It was just not my focus. I was low-key like really idolizing, trying to figure out what am I going to do after I graduate. And yeah, I've been telling you this entire time, art is my purpose. I know art is what I'm supposed to do. But there's still other thoughts and people around me like, I know you love art. Art is going to be a huge part of what you do in life, but it's not fun to you not right now. And that was the biggest thing, and I knew that. Art is my purpose, but it's not paying the bills. Well, I don't have bills, but it's not fun. The money isn't consistent, nor is it enough to make a living off of it. So I still need to find something to do in the meantime. I said that because I was honestly idolizing and putting on a pedestal, trying to figure out what I was going to do when I graduated. Like, y'all, I really stressed myself out about this. Like, I was crying. I'm telling, up at night crying to God, Lord, what am I going to do? Lord, what do you want me to do? I was just really crying out and seeking and asking him, like, Lord, what do I do after I graduate? Like, seriously, what do I do? Because I was really like idolizing that. It made me put art on the back burner and made it feel like, because this isn't making me money right now, this is it. And like, still at this point, like, word was getting around. I've done commissions for people. I've done some pretty cool stuff for some people, had some opportunities and stuff by now. But like the last concern right now, because I'm like, I need to figure out what I'm going to pursue now to give me the base of my money before I can come bring art back in. So a lot of my senior year, like, I didn't think about art a lot. I still highly yearned for art, to be an artist, to do art, to want to just fully pursue art. But in a way, I would just kind of start rejecting it because I knew that wasn't what I could do right now. I had really stressed myself out trying to figure that out. Newsflash, it's 2026. I'm still contemplating my choices. I said all that to say it made me fall off with art. So at this point now, we are in 2025. I graduated early, so I'm out of school in January. As I'm out of school, I had a lot more spare time, so I started painting a little more. I was able to get a couple paintings out there, and I think in the midst of that, I created my Jesus painting. Like, y'all, look at that painting. Look at that painting. Ain't it pretty? I love that painting. I'm still to this day. That is the best painting I have ever created. And there is not a doubt in my mind that God didn't touch my hands himself and guide my hands to make that painting. I made a couple paintings, but it still overly fell off. I had just kind of reached like a slump in my art. I had a lot of commissions. I think like that was 2025 was the year I had gotten like the most commissions I have ever gotten. I had done a lot of my classmates' grad caps. I had did some lays. And I just remember like the last 3 weeks leading up to graduation, I was up all day. I was pretty much up all day, going to bed between 3 a.m. because I was up doing orders. I was up painting caps. I was up doing lays. And then I had also gotten an order to paint 30 canvases. Well, not paint them, but like do an outline for like a paint party. And I had to do 30 canvases. And the only reason I didn't teach that painting class was because the day the party was my graduation. So I had still done the outlines and painted a reference, and they just kind of like self-taught it themselves. But I was juggling all of that within the span of 3 weeks. So I was working overtime for myself. I was tired, but even though like I was stressed, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty stressed and overwhelmed because I had a lot, and as I was like working on everything else, I still had orders coming in. Like I was getting almost an order a day for something, and I'm so grateful for that because I love the adrenaline. And though I was tired, though I was stressed, though I was overwhelmed because of the time frame I had, I loved every part of it because that's my passion. That's what I love. It didn't bother me. I didn't mind staying up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every night to get orders done because that's what I wanted to do. That's my passion. That was my job. That is my work. I do get burnt out. Don't get me wrong. But not once did I question, do I still want to do art? Despite all the pressure that I was put under. That's the type of work I want to have. In the midst of like me like doing all that, because I was so like consumed with doing paintings for everyone else, I didn't have time to do my art and still make art for me and paint my ideas. It made me feel burnt out, and it actually made it feel like a chore. And I know there is going to be like times and time frames where you sacrifice that, and that's fine. But you still have to make time to create for you as well. And that is something that I've learned. The way how it's important for me to make sure everybody else's orders that I do work for gets done is as equally as important for me to push my paintings out and to create in the midst of all that paintings that I have and artwork that I want to do, because that is what keeps me fueled to be able to do that for other people and clients that I may have to do work for. So it's really important for me to make sure that I'm still pouring into myself and I'm still creating things that I want to create and pushing out paintings that I want to make, so I can still keep showing up and passionately and working with the passion to do work for other people. Like I said, due to me having all these orders and stuff, I was burnt out and it felt just like work, work, work. When I finally had gotten a break, things had slowed down right before I had got on my cruise. It kind of made me shut off art as well. And so between me being burnt out, me feeling overworked with doing so many projects for other people, and on top of me still feeling like I have to find something else to do that I like to build a career off of, that I know is going to like make me like stable money. Between those three things binding and like over my head, it just made me fully want to shut out art. From that point, like I didn't want to look at a canvas. I didn't want to pick up a paintbrush. I didn't have no urge to paint. I did not want to paint. I turned the cheek on art. It's summer. It's the summer after graduation at this point. So
I found my way back to my word. I got back consistent with seeking God, doing my best at reading my Bible consistently again, praying, etc., etc. And my cruise came around. I told myself, I'm not even bringing a sketchbook. I'm not bringing anything art related on this cruise because I don't want to even look at art. I don't want anything to do with art. I don't even want to hear the word art. The only thing I bought to occupy me in my as hobbyish was a book to read. Y'all, when I got on that cruise, it seemed like everywhere I looked, I saw art. Art was somewhere, and I definitely feel like that was God. Like, that was God trying to call me back. God was so vocal on that cruise, and not just to me, but to my family and loved ones that went with me as well. He was so vocal, but he spoke to me mostly with just he was trying to get my attention back to my art. First of all, there was a whole floor for artwork. That art was displayed around that you can literally go down and see. It was part of like a hallway where rooms were, but still, when you go down, it was still a whole designated area for art. There was artwork all throughout the boat. There were art workshops, and it was like these events. Y'all know, if you've ever been on a cruise, you know they be having, like, if you have like the app, especially Carnival, you can look on the Carnival app and see like all the events they have planned and all that stuff. They had so many art events. They had art workshops, art classes, paint like workshops. They even had a freaking art auction. Like, they had so many like art activities, and like all like my whole like my family around me, they were just like, oh Brie, you see this art stuff, look at all this art stuff, like they have all this stuff, you should try to go attend one of them. And I'm like, yeah, but like in my head, I don't want nothing to do with it. One of the people that I had met on my cruise, if y'all watched my cruise video, you will literally see her. I literally introduced her in the video and everything. But I had ended up meeting this girl's parents, and her dad was an art teacher, and we sat and we had a whole, well, we didn't really sit, but we had a whole conversation about art right then and there. Just for her to come in my radar like that, and to meet her dad, and her dad to be an art teacher, to have that relation to art and to be able to have that connection, that was another thing. Now, the most mind-blowing part that was crazy for me. So there was a point where they was doing line dances, and I went down to line dance, and there was this man, and I was trying to teach this man line dances, right? And you watched one of my other previous videos, I was telling you that I had recently got into this art show because of, like, he sent me the information for it. So this was this guy. I'm referring back to this story. So and look how that worked too. Like, I didn't know this guy that I just kind of fell into teaching him line dances. He later down the line, he sent me an art opportunity that I'm signed up to do in April now. The way God works, you know what I'm saying? So I taught this man line dances, and this other lady starts coming and joining me to help him. And the craziest part of this encounter, the three of us are all just sitting in a huddle talking at this point in the slam center deck of the boat on top deck. This lady, we had got to talking, and both of them were really local to where I live. She was talking, and pretty much I had mentioned that like I paint and I like art. I was showing them some of my paintings and like the meaning behind some of my paintings, just walking it through, and they were just like, wow, like this is amazing, this is beautiful, you know. And then she had brought up, she was like, yeah, I had just went to one of my girlfriend's paint party not too long ago. Then she said her name, and I said, was it leopard print themed? And it was a bunch of like women holding a hat on like the canvases like that were drawn. She was like, yeah. I was like, that was me who drew out the outlines on the canvases and painted the reference for you guys. That was y'all, that lady, the party that lady went to was the person I did them 30 canvases for. And I have never met this lady before. I have never seen her, never heard of her. But for me to go on this cruise and encounter her like that, and to have that, and for us to be connected in that way, We have no idea. And I had the 30 canvases that I have drawn and done for this party for who was one of my mom's friends, right? One of my mom's like old close friends. And for me to meet this random lady and to have that connection that she went to that party that I did the canvases for. We met and found that out on a boat in the middle of the ocean. That was like, whoa. And that really got my attention. And I'm just like, okay, there's art everywhere. So I honestly, the whole time I was on that boat, God turned me every way but loose about art. Based off everything that I have said in this video, morely towards the end, you notice how art would show up in my life even when I wasn't looking for it. After God came in the picture more. This story may not seem like really didn't really tell me that art God gave me a purpose, but it's not for you to understand. I'm going by what I feel and what I know and how I know God speaks to me. And God has gotten my attention so many times about art, whether that's speaking through people. Wow, you need to keep doing this. I really feel like this is what you're meant to be doing. You are doing exactly what you need to be doing. Don't ever stop. You keep going. You keep painting. You keep doing what you're doing. This is truly a gift from God. You are gifted. Just the way God has repetitively spoke and given me confirmation about art through people, through signs, through situations, through the cruise, like that. I can't, and knowing the way how I feel and how I feel the presence of God, there's not a doubt in my mind that that's not Him telling me that art is what I'm supposed to be doing. My goal now, I like making emotionally triggering paintings. I want people to look at my art and think. Like, I want them to see my art and stop in their tracks and be like, whoa. I want people to look at my art and feel touched. I want them to feel seen, which is when, and I say feel seen in the aspect of when, this refers back to when I created art for therapy, when I was going through hardships and struggles that I feel like I couldn't talk to anybody about, or I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to these things about. I want my visual representation of the silent battles people don't talk about, like depression people go through that people don't talk about. People aren't very open about their mental health. People aren't very open about things that they struggle with. My goal is to shed light on silent battles people go through that they don't talk about, that people don't like talking about, that are uncomfortable situations, that are hard truths, but are things that people deal with. You don't always have to verbally speak your emotions to communicate how you feel, and use me as an example by that. I hope that this was able to speak to somebody. I hope this was able to help somebody. I don't know in what way. Like I said, I felt really drawn. This video idea, I just couldn't shake it. So I know there's a purpose. Even if it's 3 people that actually sit and watch this video fully through, that one of the 3 people might have been the person that God wanted to hear this. If this resonated with you in any type of way or form, I am your messenger. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down in the comment section. I will happily respond. I respond to all comments. I love to hear feedback from you guys, and I love talking to you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.